Hello everybody. In this one I'm going to be showing you guys how to set up a camera for 3D compositing. So I'm going to first go to View, Image Plane, and Import Image. I'm then going to grab an image that I found online. With this selected, I'm going to hit Apply, and I'm going to go to my film gate. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to hit fit to film gate. Actually, let's put it to fill. There we go. That works. And now I'm going to increase the depth to like, I don't know, put it at like 3000 or something. So what that does, if I go into perspective, I'm going to create a new camera. As you can see, I have my perspective camera right here. If I go over here, I set the depth to like 1000. This changes how close the image is to the camera. Now what I can do, if I slide this back, should follow and scale with the rest of the scene, and it looks like it does. So now that that's all lined up and ready to go, what I can do is I can now go to select my camera. I'm going to go to the perspective itself, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock all of these attributes. So I locked all these. That way, in this camera, I cannot rotate around, I cannot move, I can't do anything. So this is now permanently fixed. Now I can scale this up. So I'm looking for something within the scene that can help me make sure that the scaling of this object is proper. So let's move this back, because it looks like there's something in the background right here that could help me scale this up. I'll actually say I have this pretty well scaled right now. So I'm going to set this up right about here. I might scale it up just a tad. Now, if I activate light and shadows, as you can see, if I go into my Arnold render view and I hit play, I'm going to make the camera not visible, or the sky dome. And there we go. So that's what my object looks like in my scene. I'm going to set that there. The whole point of this is to make sure that your object fits within the scene properly. So you're going to need to composite it in. So to do that, you need to create render layers. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to close the Arnold render view. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the render layers. All right, I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to call this Beauty. create a collection. I'm going to call this Geo. I'm going to create another collection. And I'm going to call this lights. I'm going to create another layer. I'm going to call this shadows. Because if I look at this in the render view, you can see that it doesn't look like it fits within the scene entirely, and it doesn't cast any shadows. So in order to help with the realism, you have to have this object cast shadows within the scene itself. So you kind of need to do a little bit of scene building within here in order to get the results that you want. So I'm going to close this, select this image plane real quick. There we go. Now it fits my render view a little bit better. There we go. So I need to go back to my render layers, and I need to finish setting up these layers. I'm going to go to create collection. I'm going to call this Geo again. And I'm going to create another collection. I'm going to call this lights again. So this is the scene that I want. Now that I have this all set up, I need to start moving things around. So I'm going to have my trash can selected and my wall. Actually, I'm just going to have my trash can selected. Go back to my render layers. Under Geo, I'm just going to add the trash can. I'm going to go to lights, and I'm just going to add the sky dome. Now under shadows, I'm going to click on the trash can and the object and the plane so I can get my cast shadows. I'm going to add that to the Geo. And for the lights, of course, I'm just going to add the sky dome. Now, what I should do, if I go into beauty, I should see only the trash can. If I go into shadows, I should see only the trash can and the wall. So, under Geo, I need to create a shader override. Now, I don't have the shader currently built, so what I need to do I need to create a matte shader. Let's go to shader, AI shadow matte. Now that I have it created, I don't really have to apply it to anything. I just have to have it built into the scene or applied to this scene. So I'm going to control, oops. I'm going to copy this, just the name, close the hypershade menu. Over in the override shader, I'm going to hit Control V. And now, if I look at my render and I hit play, you should see only the cast shadows on this object. I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to go to this one, and I need to actually create a specific override for this light. I need to click on the light with this layer selected and active. I need to go to cast shadows, create absolute override for visible layer. Make sure that you have the beauty layer selected. So for this absolute override, on this one in particular, I'm going to turn off cast shadows. So now, if I go and hit play on the IPR, you should see my trash can without any shadow detail. But if I go over to my shadow layers, it should still be on. That's how you know if it worked or not. Now I have my render layers pretty much all set up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this image because I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to just hit delete. I'm going to go to settings. And I'm going to set up the render sequence images. I'm going to save it as an EXR. I'm going to call this trash can. I'm going to name underscore extension. I only need one image. I'm going to put this in I'm going to do a 3K square just for the sake of it. It's going to be a 3K image. Arnold render. I'm going to put subsurface scattering down, volume indirect down because I don't have any. Transmission's fine, specular's fine. I don't even have any transmission. But specular, I'm going to bump up to 3, diffuse 3, and cameras 4. Now I have that all set up. I'm going to go to the drop down, rendering, render. I'm going to go to render sequence. And I'm going to hit all render enabled layers. And all I have to do is hit render sequence and close. This will take some time. So once you have your objects all layered out and rendered out, you need to take the images into Photoshop. So I'm going to open up this file. I've got, under images, I have the master layer and I have beauty. So I'm going to open up my beauty. I'm going to click and just drag and drop. And as transparency, I'm going to hit OK. And there's my object. Just going to hit check mark for accept. Then I'm going to go into here, images, shadows. Going to click and drop, as transparency, and hit OK. And there's my shadows. I'm going to check mark it. So now that I have that done, as you can see, it looks a little bit more realistic. The objects are spaced properly. The scene seems to fit a little bit better. I can even move this around. I can move this to like right here maybe. See, that looks good. I can scale it up. Move this up here again, like that. I say that looks pretty good. Now the cool thing about this is, say this lighting doesn't quite look right, I can come up to here and I can go into image adjustments and I can mess with levels, brightness, contrast, things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to squash this down, make it a little bit brighter. I'm gonna hit OK right there. I'm gonna say that's pretty good. Sound filters, yeah. Okay. I'm gonna rotate this just a little bit. Bring this back down a tad. Hit OK. Turn that off. I'm probably going to adjust the colors now, so I can go to image, adjustments. I can either do hue and saturation or color balance. I think I'm going to go with color balance. There we go. Now I've got a trash can that seems to appear, and it appears relatively realistic. I wouldn't say it's perfect. I went through and I textured this and I did a little bit more work with the lighting. I could get this to look a little bit, to fit a little bit better. But for this demonstration, this is currently what you need to be reaching for.